Hello and welcome to another Katernick'S Corner live show. My name's Terry. For those of you who are new here, if this is your first time visiting the Katernick'S Corner live, let us know by typing the word new in the comments. We always like to see new people who are here on the show. We have a wonderful show lined up for you guys tonight. We are spotlighting a couple breeders who are regulars on the Coturnix Corner Facebook group page. Our two guests are joining us tonight are Fiona Moar from Manitoba, Canada, and Verna Young, who is from Ohio, and she's a regular here on the Coturnix Corner live stream and also the MyShire live streams. But both guests have different styles of keeping quail, and one of them just happens to keep her quail indoors in a small apartment. So that's going to be really interesting to find out how she does that. I do have a couple announcements that I'd like to make. The first announcement is a giveaway that we're doing. William Carl Foster has generously donated a 30 count of mixed hatching eggs, which we'll be giving away to the person who asks the most engaging question of the night. And so when someone or when you're asking your questions, if you could type the letter Q in front of your question, that'll just help me distinguish the questions from the comments. It makes things go a little bit smoother. Also, we're going to be giving away a Coturnix Corner live coffee mug. Gina Phillips won a coffee mug last week over there on Facebook, and she sent me that really cute photo with one of her birds sitting inside the cup. So I thought I would show you guys that. I thought that was kind of cute. Okay, we have a lot or we have a lot in store for you guys tonight. I want to thank everyone who has shown up so far. It looks like we got about 50 people on the stream. Thank you for stopping by, and let's get the show started. Okay, welcome Fiona and Verna. Fiona is on the left as you guys are looking at the screen, and Verna is on the right. If you would, Fiona, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into quail?
Yes, actually we started last March with a pair of button quail, and we just fell in love with the variety of colors that we got from them, and the more we researched quail, Katernick'S just made sense.
Right.
We've been into the quail for 9 months. Katernick'S, sorry.
Quite all right. Verna, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with quail.
Well, I am a widow and no kids in the house anymore. I started watching YouTube channels, and a couple of my favorite channels got Coturnix quail. And I said to one guy, wow, how can I get a few of those eggs? So he sent me some, but the trouble is he never sent eggs in the mail before, and only one of them hatched out of the dozen. A few of them were broke, but that was just enough to get myself interested in the quail.
Sure.
And I've been going like crazy ever since.
Okay.
That's been a year ago now.
Very good. Okay, what I'm going to do, Verna, is I am going to go through some questions with Fiona, and we'll put you in the green room, and then I will bring you back out here and we'll run through your questions, and after that we'll go ahead and start taking questions from everybody over in the chat room, and we'll bring both of you out for that. So Fiona, can you tell us about your setup and how you prefer to keep your birds?
Well, we took a few different ideas from a few people who built their own. We like to use shavings, and we have them compartmentalized. Mm-hmm. And we have one male per 4 or 5 hens, and we don't even really do it by color. We like the random factor too much, except for our celadons we have separate.
Okay, cool. I know some of your cages have like a natural environment in them. Does this benefit your birds, and how much more work is it?
Well, we do a lot of river walks, so coming across pieces of driftwood is super easy for us. So we just started incorporating it into our cages, and we found they became a lot less aggressive towards each other
Okay.
and a lot calmer, and they just enjoy having something to hide under and climb
Sure.
on.
Sure, a little bit more natural. Um,
Yes.
what is the main purpose for you keeping your quail? What reason do you keep your quail?
Initially, it was for enjoyment. Now we've developed a taste for them, and we love the health benefits of the eggs.
Sure.
So we're super gung-ho about just incorporating it into our everything.
Right. How many different varieties are you keeping?
How many different varieties? I would say 6. We recently got German pastels, so we have the celadons. We've got the Italians, pansies, pharaohs. We started initially with some Texas A&Ms, a few silvers.
Mm-hmm. Do you have issues finding eggs up there in Canada?
There was a huge issue with the German pastels. Actually, I was on a waiting list for 6 months. Just wanted
Okay.
to show this guy off. He's
Okay.
just beautiful.
I know you said you guys have snow in there today. Oh, that's your little pet one?
This is my German pastel. This is the prettiest one.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, that's nice. Do you have any issues with the cold being up there?
Yes, we couldn't keep them outside. It gets to be minus 40 sometimes. Last winter, we had a really cold spot. It was minus 50 Celsius, and it was colder than the North Pole. So we decided we just built a shed last year, and we started housing them in our shop indoors.
Cool. I've got a bunch of the photos that you sent. I'm going to pull that up. And if you just want to go through these photos, I'll just kind of go through them real slow and just talk about each one and, and what's in the photos basically.
Okay.
Can you see them okay?
No, I can't. Actually, my screen froze a bit ago.
Uh-oh. Well, we're looking at it looks like your cages. There's 6 cages, 2 per row.
Yes. That was our second design after we built our first one, and we realized a lot of the flaws. We didn't like the original doors we made it with, and we just realized we can compartmentalize them a lot smaller than we originally did, and just easier access. We have the buttons actually at the top, and the Coturnix are in the rest.
Okay. The next picture looks like a large aquarium. I'm taking that's your brooder.
Does it have the lamp?
It does.
Yes, we actually modified that lid to hold the heat lamp because we noticed when we have our birds raised in close contact with us, they are more tame, they're easier to feed, and they're less aggressive towards people.
Okay, cool. This one looks like, I can't see what you've got on the top. It's a big long cage, about 6 foot long. Looks like you got some whites and some browns or wilds in the middle cage. Oh, it looks like 2 levels. That's what it looks like.
Oh, the top section is just
one
it's
big
all
wide
open?
open. Yes.
Yes. That's our teenage grow out pen.
Okay.
Sometimes we have a lot of teenagers growing out, and until they get aggressive, we house them all together.
Gotcha. Okay, the next one. It looks like there's 2 cages that kind of butt together at a 45. And I see some
That's
driftwood
the
in
shed.
there.
Yeah, that's the shed we built last year. We originally had buttons and Coturnix in there, and actually we missed them in the house. So we
Okay.
kind of modified things, and this summer we built all the newer cages that you just saw.
Okay.
And now that shed predominantly just holds our California valleys, and we try to make it as many levels as possible. So if you look, there's like a little hut against the wall.
I see that.
And the Californians just, they love roosting, they love perching, and they love hiding.
Cool. Okay, I think this looks like bob whites, maybe? Or I don't know. I can't really tell what the image is. It looks like a glass front on the cage. Got some big driftwood pieces in there. Glass bottle
Is that the very
feeder.
large aquarium?
Yeah, is that
That's
what
the
that
very
is?
large aquarium?
Yep, with wood behind
Yes.
it.
Yes, that's our bob whites.
Okay.
Yes. That was one of our original aquariums, and it's changed so much according to bird that we're putting in there. But right now we have we've had pheasants in there. We had a peahen grow up in there.
Wow.
So yeah, that's versatile. Our versatile aquarium
Right.
in our living room.
Oh, that's in the house. Okay. The next one, I can't really tell what it is. It looks like a 3-level cage, and it looks like some rabbit water bottles sticking out the side of the cage.
We actually needed to make an individual little apartment one, just big enough to house one bird at a time, so we could figure out which ones were males or females, which one were laying celadon eggs or not. Sometimes you need to separate one for a few days and give them a timeout or a hospital.
Gotcha. Okay, and the last one is kind of a wide shot. It looks like you've got a 3-level cage, and behind it is that big 2-level cage with the top that's open. And then looks like there's a black plastic, maybe a brooder box underneath it or something.
Yes, we actually had to modify a lot of the shelving to allow for food storage underneath the cages because
Okay.
it just was taking up so much space.
Sure.
And that box brooder, again, we had to build that according to, we were running out of brooders. I had 4 going at once this summer. It was, once you start with hatching, you just kind of,
Sure.
it goes overboard sometimes.
Sure, I know exactly what you mean. Okay, Fiona, are you still froze on your end?
I'm not froze.
Did you say you were?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring Verna in, and while I'm asking her questions, if you could go ahead and sign out and then call right back in.
Okay.
All right, very good.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. Hi, Verna.
Hello.
Let me see if I got some questions for you here. I know I do. Okay, first off, tell us a little bit about your quail setup.
Now, being in an apartment, I gave up my bedroom to make it into a quail room. So I have my bed in the front room instead. And that gives me a chance to expand as I need to.
Okay. Do you run into any issues keeping your birds inside in the apartment?
You just have to make sure you keep the cages clean so you don't have so much smell.
Gotcha. What do you do about, I'm sure you need quite a bit of ventilation back there.
No, I have a clean air machine going on right now.
Okay,
Other than that, that's the only ventilation at the moment
cool.
because it's too cold to open the window.
All right. Do you see any real benefits to keeping your birds inside like you do?
Yeah, you can keep your varmint control down.
That's true.
You don't have most of the predators and stuff like that.
All right, flies, are
The only
they a
thing-
problem?
Pardon?
Are flies a problem?
I get spells of flies,
Yeah, okay.
but you put up fly tape and make sure you clean the cages.
Right. I see that you have a Winola ranch and a couple hatching time cages. How are they working out for you, and which ones do you prefer?
Well, I prefer the Winola Ranch.
Okay.
I use one of top of the builder's cages for grow out pen.
Right.
And if somebody that's willing to drive to me, they can have my hatching time cages.
Really?
I even got one layer that isn't even built.
Okay. So you've got what, two? How many layers total that you're giving away?
It's a 2 layer.
2 layers? Oh, there you go, folks. So if anybody is near Verna in Ohio and willing to make a drive over to her place, you can get some free hatching time cages. If you want to contact me, you can email me at terry@Katernick'scorner.com, and I will forward your information over to Verna, and she can contact you and make arrangements to get together. Verna, I'm going to go ahead and bring up some of the photos that you sent me, and
Sure.
if you can see them, tell me a little bit about what they are. This one, I don't.
Yeah, that looks like the new hatching of the wilds.
Okay.
And that's the top of the cage. Looking
This
down like when I'm feeding the water, when I'm filling up the water thing,
Okay.
that gives a great shot that way.
Is that one of your Winola Ranch cages?
Huh?
Is that one of the Winola Ranch cages?
Yeah, the top of it.
Okay. Cool. Oh yeah, there you are from the front.
Yep. That's 3 layers. You can't see the top layer in that picture.
And how many birds do you keep in there?
Oh shoot, there 3 by 2. I can keep 20, 25 birds in there
Okay,
in one
great.
layer.
Right. Nice. Okay, here's a little bit wider shot. What is this, Verna?
Okay, that cage in the back with the blue lid on the ball. That's that's modified after Papa the Builder's cage. That's what I use as my grow out pen.
Okay.
And the one below that is my hatching time cage.
Okay.
But see, I was taking when it was warmer, so I had a window on the fan, and I had a window pointed up towards the ceiling to get a lot of air
Gotcha.
circulating.
Gotcha. Okay, we got Fiona back in here. I am going to bring you both back up. Fiona, how is your image doing now? I do not have any audio on you, Fiona. Check to make sure you're not muted. Hold on one second. Can you go ahead and talk there a minute, Fiona? I'm not hearing anything out of you, Fiona. Can you hear me? Are you hearing me, Fiona? I don't think she's hearing me. I don't know if she can even read the questions. Okay, I am going to pull her out real quick and see if she will call back in. I don't know why we're not getting any audio from her. Guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into the questions for our guest. If you would, please type the letter Q in front of your question. Fiona, can you hear us now? Hello? I am not hearing Fiona. I don't know why. Let me try a different shot here. Are you hearing us, Fiona? Hello? Oh, this
Don't
is
look
no
like
good.
I can hear you.
No, it doesn't look like it. I'm trying to see how I can. I'm gonna X her out one more time and see what happens. I don't know why we wouldn't. Here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can get some questions. See, DJ Strike 9 says, anyone know what the requirements are for the giveaway? Yeah, DJ, all you got to do is whoever asks the most engaging questions for our guest tonight, we will be choosing two people. One person is going to win the hatching eggs, and another person is going to win a coffee cup. Fiona, are you hearing me now? I do not know what's going on.
No, I don't think she's getting any audio.
Yeah, hold on one second. Source. Yeah, I do not know why. I can mute her, and then I can, let me try muting both you guys. Are you hearing anything now, Verna? Okay. Fiona, are you there?
She looks like she froze up now.
Yeah, she did. And I don't know why that's happening. That is terrible. Let's try it again.
Could be the snow.
Fiona, can you hear us? Oh, this is terrible. Well, it looks like I am going to have to go through the questions, and hopefully we can get her straightened out. Waiting for the link. I apologize, everybody. Technology is just not what it should be. I don't know what's going on, why we don't have no audio on Fiona. And she looks like she's frozen again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Break an egg. That's cute. Let's see. We'll get down to some questions. I've got a lot of people saying hi.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, here we go. Jessica says, what age do you introduce a sandbox and or grit, and can they use sand as grit? What's your thoughts on that, Verna?
Well, every time I'm doing a count or checking out the quail, I'll put them in a box that I have. It's a tote with a vented lid.
Yep.
That's full of sand and gravel and grit. Anytime that they're ready to leave their brooder, I can start doing that.
Right. I don't give my birds any grit due to the fact that the feed that I'm feeding them is Crumbles, and it is water soluble, so they really don't need the grit. I do use sandboxes that I give them about every other week. I'll throw a sandbox in there. I should probably do it a little bit more, but because it does keep them happy. Quail Ma'am says, thanks for showing Little Peep, Terry. You are welcome. And thanks for sending me that picture. It was very cute. Jessica says, I have seen sources using 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch floor wire. Do the droppings fall through the 1/4 inch wire okay? And is 1/2 inch too big? What are your thoughts on that?
No, 1/4 inch is only good for the brooder. You need 1/2 inch, and even then some of it doesn't drop through.
Right. And yeah, 1/2 inch wire is fine. Even 1/2 inch by 1 inch is fine for adult birds.
Yeah.
David Wood says, between Terry and Zach over at My Shire, I got up and running from day one. Well, congratulations. Glad to hear it. Jessica says, what do you use to grind the cat food if you use it to bring the protein content up? Do you grind any feeds?
Yes, I have a bucket that I fill. I use 1 ounce of ground cat food to 3 pounds of chick starter.
Okay.
But what I grind my cat food in is a coffee mill,
Okay.
and it works great.
Good. I think this question was for Fiona. Are mutton quail the same species as Coturnix? No, they are not. What can you use as a substrate for baby quail?
I don't understand what a substrate is.
What material do you put in the bottom of the brooder for the chicks?
I use wood chips. Well,
Okay.
the first few days, I use paper towels,
Right.
because I use bounty paper towels.
Okay.
And then after 3 days, they go into wood chips.
Okay, gotcha. I was just thinking, Fiona, if you by any chance are watching the stream, could you call back in again, please? We lost audio on you. We did get an image, but we lost audio. When you call in, make sure that you give your camera permission to use the microphone and camera, and hopefully we can get you back in here. Here's a good one for you, Verna. What's the best way to prepare quail for eating?
Oh, you can use quail just about like you do chicken. But my favorite one is I take a little box of non-GMO cream of mushroom soup. And what I do is I take, depending on how many people I'm having, I'll take the quail, lay it on the bottom of the slow cooker,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll put the mushroom soup right on top of the quail. Because depending on how much quail you had to how much mushroom soup you're going to use, whether you're going to use 1, 2, or 3 boxes,
Sure.
you know. And then you just put a lid on it, and about 4 or 5 hours later, you got a good meal ready for you.
Right. Okay. How do you handle eggs outdoors in the winter? I think that question was for Fiona. She did say that she moved all her birds inside. They've got like a little barn, so they don't have any birds outdoors right now. Let's see. Brandy says, do you grow fodder for your quail, and if so, what type? I'm pretty sure you don't, being in an apartment.
No.
Do you give your
But
quail
I
any
do
kind
give
of
them
treats?
cucumbers.
Right, that's what I was just going to wonder.
I do give them cucumbers, kale, and stuff like that
Right,
during season.
right. I wonder if there is, I wish I had her number. I could text her, but I don't even have her phone number. I might be able to do it over on Facebook. Because I got a couple questions here that I know were for Fiona. Do you find any qualities of celadons that are unique other than the color of the eggs? What are your thoughts on celadon, Verna?
I don't have any celadons.
Okay. Let's see. Do you find that quail go broody in natural habitats? And if so, do you let them hatch out? That's from Heidi.
That was for Fiona.
Heidi, we had Tanya from, I'm trying to think of her name. It's Tanya Muddy Farms, I believe it is. And
Yeah.
she keeps all her birds outdoors in a large aviary type setup. And I believe I asked her about chicks going broody, and she said they really didn't have that much luck with it. But I have heard over on the Facebook group page of people that have had luck with it. And if I'm not mistaken, it's usually the Italians or the Golden Manchurians that they're having the most luck with. I know a lot of guys over in Australia are getting hens to go broody. So. Kyle P says, I just added a new batch of chicks to my large quail area, but they are not interacting with the existing quail. Do they commonly take more time to get used to each other? Verna, if you want to take that, I am going to go over here and see if I can't
No,
get a hold of.
as long as they're not scalping each other, just give them time. You know, give treats where they can share it and stuff like that, you know.
Right.
It's just like when you're new kids and into a new school. It's going to take a little bit before you get comfortable.
Right. That's next one was about buttons. Verna, if you could give me a second, I am going to try to message her on Facebook. Talk a little bit about your birds and what's going on there in Ohio.
Okay, we have nothing but rain right now. And in the brooder, I've got 12 that hatched out of 2.5 weeks ago. They're from the white wings sparrows. And I only got one that's white, and the rest of them are white wings. I got about 60 eggs in the incubator right now of white wings.
Right.
And the ones that I have in the quail room, the second cage is a bunch of tuxedos. And they're pretty neat. But my jumbo wilds are giving me a little problem because they decided to trap the eggs and eat them.
Gotcha. Okay, Harley's Game Birds and More says, how do you keep your buttons? Well, I know you don't have buttons, so I think that was for Fiona. Iva says, can you use a 10-gallon tank for 1 to 5 day old chicks?
I don't see any reason why not.
Yep. Yeah,
As long as you have a good,
yeah, as long as
you
they're
have
not
something-
overcrowded, they should be fine.
right.
Iva wants to know, how many quail species are there? I don't know if she's talking about varieties or species.
Well, all the Coturnix quail are one species, and there's many varieties of them. I don't even want to take a guess. I think 60 at least.
Right. I know Zach, I think,
But
has
then you have
like 30 colors.
button quail, which is different than the bob whites. You know, so
Right. Okay, Raquel, excuse me, Raquel says, how do you get the prettiest colors? Talk about your breeding program there, Verna.
well, right now I'm not breeding for color at the moment. I am mostly breeding for size and egg size.
Okay.
Because the larger the quail are and the larger the eggs are, the happier I am.
Gotcha.
Because I don't eat chicken eggs anymore. I don't eat chicken or chicken eggs.
Right.
But with these white wings and that, now I've got some of the tuxedos that I'm going to be doing some eggs with them. And I may start some experiments. Being on a small scale, you can't do a lot of experiments because you don't have a lot of room.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, if I would have had a 2-bedroom apartment, then it would have been a different story.
You'd had a second barn there, yep. Iva says, can adult quail be out in -5-degree weather in a shed with a heat lamp? I think that was originally for Fiona.
Yeah, but I think they can be if they're used to the cold, as long as they have places to get out of the weather at.
Yep. Yeah, as long as they're protected from the weather and the wind, they can handle some pretty cold temperatures. Kyle P says, do you forage for wild foods for your quail? If so, does this concern you about giving a diet high enough in protein? I think that was for Fiona. Guys, I messaged Fiona over on Facebook. She hasn't seen my message yet. Hopefully she will get that and try calling back in. And if she does, I will come back to these questions. I really apologize. I thought we had all these issues worked out, but it looks like once somebody logs out of the software and tries to log back in, we lose audio on them. Brandy says, how do you clean the natural environment cages? That was another one for Fiona. Okay, here's one for you, Verna. Heidi wants to know, how do you deal with all the dust when keeping your quail indoors?
Well, that's why you dust, and that's why you have a clean air machine.
Do you notice your fans get a lot of that dust buildup on them?
Oh yes, I burned out 2 fans from it.
Right.
But I found out how to make a filter for it so I don't have to burn out anymore.
Right. Okay, Beth Reed says, what are your original goals with quail? Have you achieved them? And what are your goals now?
My original goal was to see if I could raise them and process them for food.
Okay.
What are my goals now? I sell enough to buy for their food. So my goals now is just keep going and enjoy myself.
Sounds good. Iva wants to know, can adult quail be kept on fine gravel?
Well, I guess you can, but you'd have to clean it using a pooper scooper
Right.
for cat litter boxing.
Yep. All my birds are on wire, so I don't know. I am in the process of putting together a aviary out back, but that project kind of got put on the back burner. I had some repairs I had to make on the house, so we slowed down on that one. Kyle wants to know, how often do you clean your waterers? I can't ever seem to keep up with the algae growth. Do you have any issues with that?
Being inside, I really don't have that problem, but my buckets are not white or black, they're red.
Mm-hmm.
I do not, like I said, they're not exposed to the sunlight and everything, so I don't have that problem.
Right. I was just thinking about this. Guys, if Fiona doesn't make it back into the show tonight, I am going to do another show. I'll ask her to come back on again, because I know there's quite a few questions in here that look like they were geared for, or geared toward Fiona. Jimmy says, is there any concern about inbreeding? I'm getting started and just hatched out my first 9 out of 12 eggs and want to breed them, but do I need to get roosters from another flock?
Well, the thing is you don't have to worry that much about inbreeding with Coturnix. At least not for a few generations.
Right.
But every once in a while, throwing in like a different colored bird in with it will help with that. Like a different colored male
Mm-hmm.
from the flock, and let him go for a couple of months.
Right.
You know, in other words, you just change out what you're afraid of, so that way you knock down the fear of having that happen.
Right. And I never have any issues with inbreeding. I mean, my hens I very seldom keep longer than a year, and my roosters I only keep for 6 months. So by the time I change them out, I'm introducing new blood. Even with in some of my color pens, when I'm breeding some of the offspring back to their parents, I'm not having any issues there. So Tech and Gadget says, I love this channel for helping people out with all you need to know about incubating and raising quail at home. Thank you very much, Tech and Gadgets.
Thank you.
S-A-A-N-G. I wish I knew how to pronounce what her name is there. Verna.
Hi.
She's excited. Let's see. Iva wants to know, are quail better than chickens? I think so.
In my opinion, they're a heck of a lot better.
Yep.
They're not dried out like the breast is on a chicken. Sure, they're smaller, but I couldn't eat a half a chicken breast to begin with.
Okay, Lynn wants to know, how do you deal with the dust inside? I think we already covered that, but go ahead and let Lynn know.
Well, you dust to have to brush out your air machines and everything else. But
Yep.
that's about all you can do.
Yep. My birds are inside also, probably about anywhere between 200 and 300 birds. And I do have, my room is air conditioned. And I do get a little bit of dust buildup on the air conditioner filter, but other than that, it's really not that bad. I keep my cages pretty clean, and yeah, I don't really have that much of a buildup. Can quail? This is from Iva. Can quail dig through substrate to dig up bugs and eat them?
If you're talking about the ground,
Yeah.
I'm sure they can do some.
Sure.
Not a lot, but
Iva
they
says,
got
"How
good
old
laws."
is Terry?" Okay.
better too
Fiona
young to
just saw
resist.
my message. I'm 59, guys. I'm going to be 60 in December, so I'm getting old. But I don't feel old. I'm only 35 or so. Let's see. Equalix YT says, "Hey, please answer this question. 2 quail hatched on day 17, but now day 18 is ending and no other eggs are moving or pipping."
Just give it time. Patience is your best key.
Yeah, you can even go to up to day 20 if you're concerned. You may have an issue with temperatures in the incubator, infertility. You know, it's hard to say, but definitely give them a couple more days to see what happens before you pull the plug. Iva says, "Can quail survive on fresh grass?" No.
Not just alone, no.
No. Chris wants to know what the lowest temp that button quail can handle. That has got to be a question for Fiona, because I do not know. How do the quail go on multi-level cages with low ramps in between the levels? I don't think she has ramps in between the levels. It's just each level is its own individual cage.
For a bird.
Yeah. Will quail like to forever stay on screen bedding? I don't know what screen bedding is. Oh, I think it's screen, like wood chips or something. Yeah, they do fine on that.
And you know, people talk about bumblefoot,
Right.
and I don't have a problem. I haven't had a problem with bumblefoot.
Yeah, I don't either. Since I put all plastic coated wire in my cages, I haven't had any issues with foot problems. Rebecca says, "Does William Carl Foster have the best colors?" He has some amazing colors. He has some stuff that I have
don't know
not
him, so
seen
I don't
anywhere
know.
else. Yeah. Now he's got colors that I have seen anywhere else. Matter of fact, I'll bring that image back up. Let me get rid of your. If you look at this one in the front, that's almost a solid black. Then there are some Rotkoffs, they call them, which are redheaded. Yeah. So there's a lot of really neat colors that I've hatched out from him. So let's see, we'll get Verna back in here. Yes, I do highly recommend William Carl Foster if you're looking for nice colors. What is the best quail breeder to get eggs and new chicks from? Go ahead, Verna. I know who you're going to say.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's My Shire Farm. Their customer service and education is very good.
Yep.
I've tried a couple other places and didn't like them.
Yep. I agree on that. I also use Kansas City Quail. Naomi is straight laced. I mean, she gets your eggs out on time. I've had excellent hatch rates from her birds. So Fiona, call back in. Tried everything. It's probably the storm. I'm going to give you another question. Here's one for you from Buster Verna. Have you ever had problems with the waters in the Winola Ranch cages? Talk about
Oh
that while
no,
I
those
answer her back.
are a lot better than the ones in the hatching time cages. Those have little cups in them. I have no problems with them. The only problem I had is when I had it too low and the birds would sit on it and flood their tray. So I learned real quick to put it up to head level so they don't sit on them.
Okay. Yeah, I built little wire racks that go above my watering cups, and that way if they try to jump up on them, they can't get to the cups. So. And yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the Wynola Ranch cages. I haven't used them yet. I did talk to Wynola Ranch, and they were going to send me a cage to test out and do a review on, but it probably won't be until after the first of the year. Iva says, can quail climb?
Not really.
Hmm.
They might walk up a plank or something like that, but climbing, I don't see that. Not like McCall used to do.
Right. Heather wants to know, how many quail do each of you have now, and what do you feel is your max that you could have?
Oh, that's a hard one. I haven't reached max yet. Right now, I have I don't know. I'd have to go in there and count them.
Okay. So what's the
I know I
max?
have-
What's the max you think you could do in that room?
Let me see. Probably 100.
Okay, that's not bad. I have probably between 2 and 250 right now, and the max I could probably get away with, which I wouldn't do just because of how much cleaning I would have to do, but probably about 500 birds, Heather. Fiona,
Yeah, you have a bigger area for yours.
yeah, and I could actually expand that
That
if I
was for
wanted to.
Fiona.
Yes, it was. Do you ever ship to the U.S.? I just text Fiona again and asked her to try one more time, so let's see what happens. Hopefully she can get back in here. Will quail hatch if you candle them every day?
To be honest, I don't candle my eggs. Now I might candle some this time when they come out of when they go into lockdown. But generally I don't candle the eggs because I'm already turning them every day.
Right.
Because the motor on my egg turner came to me broke. So I took that off and I hand turn it. But every day you're risking them not keeping temperature.
Yeah, I don't candle at all. What hatches, and I usually get pretty decent hatch rates, and on my own eggs anyhow, anywhere between 80 and 90%. So, Heather says, what do you feel is the benefit to the quail being in close contact with you?
Well, one thing, you know where your food is. Another thing is you get to know them and they get to know you.
Mm-hmm. What is the best new beginner quail species? That's pretty simple.
Wild.
Yeah.
Or whatever you can get a hold of.
Yeah, Coturnix. If you're talking species, it's Coturnix.
Yeah.
David wants to know, what incubator do you use?
Well, my most reliable is Farm Innovations.
Okay.
Then I have two other kinds. I don't know what their names are, but they aren't worth the diddly squat.
I have one little giant that I used to use as a lockdown, but I had an issue recently, excuse me, with it where the thermostat locked up and it got to like 110, 112 degrees in there, so I'm not using that one anymore. But I have a couple of my homemade DIY incubators. There's a video on the Katernick'S Corner YouTube channel, shows how to build that, and those have been running pretty much non-stop for the last 18 months. So And they work, and they're very inexpensive to build. So.
That's what I'm thinking about doing that.
Lynn says, "How do I get Terry to come help me build a bunch of cages?" Good luck. I can't even get me to build cages for me. I don't know what.
Okay.
I don't know what this question means, but who is better, Maya Hyga or Coyote Peterson?
I don't have the slightest idea.
I have no idea either. LJ Thomas says, "Verna, have you had any complaints from neighbors since you're in an apartment?"
No, none at all.
Can they hear your birds? Have they ever said that they've heard birds?
I can hear them when I'm outside in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
They go crazy sometimes.
Right.
But even then, they're not as loud as Canadian geese that's honking around the river here.
Right.
So I really have no. In fact, they're a lot quieter than a lot of people play their music here.
Gotcha. Little cover sound. Iva says, "Will quails survive living together in tight spaces but still be able to move around?"
Well, I go by the rule of 3 to 3.5 per square foot. So and you look at them, when I'm on top of the cage, you can see it over to one side. They don't spread out in the cage a lot. They like being together.
Yep, exactly. That's a topic that everybody has a different opinion on. I know people that want, less than one bird per square foot, or up to 6 per square foot. So I guess it's, oh, dang it, wrong account. Sorry. Erie Quail Farm. That is, I believe, SAANG. I think that's your account.
Yeah. You had one up there just a second ago, and I was just starting to read it.
Yeah, we already answered that one. Does anyone have any suggestions on? Yeah, does anyone have any questions on growing their own food for crops while maintaining a healthy diet? I do not. I don't. I buy food.
I buy my food too. I have it delivered right to my apartment, 200 pounds at a time.
Tyler wants to know, Verna, do you have a favorite color quail?
I had one the tuxedos that I really loved, but he ended up being dinner. He was a lavender.
One of your favorites, huh? Erie Quail Farm says, "Verna, how many quail do you keep? Do you have a favorite and why?"
Well, my favorite was Jumbo Wilds until they're misbehaving right now, so they're not my favorite right now. How many quail do I keep? Like I said, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure how many's in that top cage.
Mm-hmm.
There's about 8 in the middle cage, and the bottom cage is empty, but I got 12 in the brooder, and 60 eggs in incubator, so that's not counting the ones in the freezer.
Right. Erie Quail Farm says, "Verna, do you have problems with bumblefoot, and do you fix it?"
No, that's one thing I don't. No, that's one thing I don't have a problem with. The Winona quails and the hatching time quails are both easy on the bird's feet.
Is your Winona Ranch cage have the 1/2 inch by 1 inch floor?
I don't remember what the bottom is, to be honest.
Okay. Let's see. Erie Quail Farm, as far as bumblefoot, if I do get a bird that has issues with bumblefoot, I usually just call them. I mean, there is a way you can go in there and cut out the infection, but that just takes too much time for me. And
not only that, once they have it, they're susceptible to get it again.
let's see. Tyler Shepard says, "Verna, what makes you not like the hatching time cages as much? I've heard they're not people's favorites, but not many have described it. What is not as good as,
There's,
besides the price?
there's two things that I don't like about the cage. Is I don't like the watery nipples, and at my age of 63 years old, I don't want to be stooped over all the time tending to the birds. That's hard on the back.
Yep. Yeah, and that was, I did have a set of hatching time cages here that I was using for like special breeding projects, and I agree with Verna, that bottom cage is just too low. So what I did was I actually donated my cage to someone who is using it, and they're kind of helping kids out with quail, so I thought it was a...
That would be great for somebody that has some young person, you know?
Sure. Jeff wants to know, can you breed siblings?
Yes.
Yep, I agree. Heidi wants to know, can you feed dog food to quail like you would cat food?
I wouldn't, because cat food is a higher percentage of protein.
Mm.
Dog food's got too much junk in it.
Filler, yep. I haven't tried either. We have a feed store that has some stuff. I'm trying to think what they call it. It's like, it's not a floating fish food, but it's a high protein. It's almost like a powder, and you add that to their feed, and I think it's like 40% protein, so it really brings them up. If I figure out what the name of it is, I'll let you know.
Well, the cat food I use is the high protein cat food.
Okay. Oh, you do add higher protein feed?
9 lines, high protein.
Oh, okay.
Because even though I'm only about 45 minutes from my Shire farm, I can't get what he can get.
Gotcha. I don't know if this... Heather asked a question. What are the sizes of your birds now? I know when you shared your feed recipe with me, your birds were getting big. Do you think this will impact their lifespan? Do you remember, Heather, on that?
My smallest one ended up 11 ounces.
11?
The smallest one.
And what age was that?
That was at 8 weeks.
Oh, okay. It's not too bad.
One thing, it won't affect their life. You know, right now they're just as ornery as can be.
All right.
Doing good.
MC Spike says, how often do you clean your cages?
About twice a week.
Okay. Yeah, I do it about 3 times a week. Actually, I have my wife help me do it, but yeah, it keeps the smell down. I keep my cages really clean, and I put pine shavings on the trays, just a light dusting of it, just to help keep the manure dried out a little bit better. I also have circulation fans.
I put a thick layer of pine shavings down on mine.
Okay. Erie Quail Farm says, Verna, do you sell your extra eggs or birds?
Sometimes I can be talked into it. But I do sell my eggs, yeah.
Okay, Tyler's got a question here for Fiona. Guys, I just heard back from Fiona. She is having some issues with her router. She did say that it was snowing up there, so I don't know if that is affecting her connection. But we will get back, and I'll bring her back on the show again as soon as we can get these issues worked out.
The last customer I had, he bought 6 birds and 11 dozen eggs. And I told him then that's the last of my birds that I can sell until I get more grown.
Gotcha. Let's see here. DJ says, can I feed my injured quail trimmings from my cannabis plants for medicinal purposes? I guess you could.
I haven't tried the idea. You can always try it.
Right. Todd wants to know, have you ever supplemented cheaper layer feed with a 40 or 44% poultry supplement to save money over buying the 28% game bird or turkey starter?
I use regular 27% chick starter with high protein cat food added to it.
Okay.
For the first 8 weeks.
Right. Yeah, I start my birds out on, they're all on a 30% protein. It's a game bird starter made by Purina. And once they go once they start laying, I switch them over to a 16% layer formula that probably every other week I will mix in a 20% grower formula just to boost that protein up a little bit. But I found that the most important thing is to get your calcium levels up, because once they're up to weight and laying eggs, you really don't need that high of protein. You're just going to add more fat to your birds. Let's see. Kyle says, is a heat lamp strong enough to keep quail alive over winter I guess says I'm in New England.
I don't have the slightest idea. I don't live in that cold of temperature.
Yeah, Kyle, it's going to depend on how old your birds are. I mean, if you're talking chicks, I would just make sure that the area is, 99 degrees, 95 degrees during the first week. And then after that, you can slowly start backing up light. But it all depends. I mean, are you keeping them outside? What are the temperatures up there? If we had a little more information, we can give you a better answer on that. Iva says, can quail be separated from other quail and they incubate with their mothers? If you can get a hen to go broody, yeah, of course you can do that. But I haven't had any luck with it, so. Here's one for you.
But them being domesticated for so many thousand years,
Right. Robert says, any tips on dealing with wry neck in an adult bird?
Wry neck, you'd probably have to call it.
I do call birds with wry neck. I don't take the time to try. I've heard so many different opinions on what causes the wry neck, whether it's lack of vitamins or certain vitamins, or high temperature during incubation, I think can cause it. But yeah, if I ever did get a bird with wry neck, I just call them.
Mm-hmm.
Can you use quail as an emotional support animal?
Pardon?
No, I was just reading. It was a goof question, I guess. Verna, what incubator do you use, and was there a learning curve with your hatching success?
Yes, on both of those. The incubator I use now is Farm Innovations. I started out with a little cheap one that I got off at Amazon. And I don't know if it was because of that or it was because of the bad shipment of eggs. It's up in the air.
Right.
I like the Farm Innovator. The only thing I didn't like about it, when I got it, the rotating motor didn't work. So I've been hand rotating twice a day.
Let's see. Quail Ma'am says, Verna, how do you clean your cages?
They're trays. I pull them out, scoop it up, and put it into a garbage can. And when I get that all scooped out, I put wood chips back on it and slide it back in place. When my garbage can gets filled, I have to hike it down and throw it in the compost pile.
Gotcha. Let's see. Heidi L says, do you raise quail for fun, food, or money? Dollars.
Mostly food and fun. Money's just a secondary thing that can happen.
Gotcha. Yeah, I do mine mainly for food or money. I do sell quite a few eggs and birds locally.
Well, the thing is what is so strange is like I started a year ago. Okay?
Mhm.
By the time my birds started laying eggs and I got more birds, then we hear about the coronavirus. So, that's altogether good.
Right. Let's see here. I am looking at the clock. We are at 8 o'clock now, guys, so I am going to kind of go through these questions a little bit quicker. Kyle says, how large of a group do I need to begin with, begin a breeding program without fear of inbreeding?
There isn't really a fear of inbreeding until you've had generations of the birds.
Right.
So you need at least 5 females to 1 male. If you want to protect against future inbreeding, then you get another set breeding pair.
Okay. Quail Ma'am says, Verna, do some of your jumbo wilds have curly back feathers? Frizzles or frazzles or whatever they call them?
Right now they kind of look like they do. They're all ruffled up, and I think that's because they're so busy eating each other's eggs.
Right.
But they didn't look that way originally.
Okay, Quailman has another question. Verna, how did you make your fan filter?
Well, you take a couple furnace filters and you triangle them together, and then you put a top on it, and that protects your fan when it's throwing in the air.
Right. Okay. Hi, Terry. Can you give a shout out to my son, DJ? He's your biggest 10-year-old fan. He lives for Tuesdays now. Hi, DJ. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. And join us again next week. We got another really good show coming up. And thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay.
Good when kids get interested.
Exactly. Verna, we already read that one. Verna, where have you had the most success with selling your birds?
Well, I started selling eggs. The guy asked me if I'd sell him a couple birds for him and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you start off selling eggs, and everything else will fall into place.
Right.
Now I market my eggs as strictly for eating.
Okay. Okay, here's the most engaging question of the night. Will you marry me? Now that's got to be the most engaging question. Love the lives and the guests. Thanks, Frank. That was pretty cool. There's your proposal, Verna.
Now, Frank, we don't know each other yet.
Right. Okay, we are getting down towards the bottom. Here's another question for Verna. Desicolad says, Verna, do you take the time to treat a hatchling with splay leg, or just cull it once it's apparent that it has a problem?
I don't have that problem because when I go into lockdown, I put shelving liner on the bottom of the incubator to put the eggs in. That way they have the grips to strengthen their legs. You don't have that problem with that.
Right. Yeah, I usually don't have problems with splay leg, but if I do, I usually cull. I incubate so many chicks at one time that I really don't have the time to try to fix one of them. Tyler Shepard says, have you ever had quail lose size after reaching adulthood? I haven't.
Not really.
No. Okay, LJ Thomas says, what's the most challenging aspect of raising quail in an apartment?
Sometimes it's getting sleep when the roos are over anxious. Otherwise, the most challenging thing is just doing the cleaning.
Right. Okay, that was a good question. Lynn says, what's the best feed for Katernick'S chicks?
Well, if you're talking about the young ones, if you can get the wild bird starter,
Game bird starter. Yep.
or turkey starter, that's would be the best. If not, you get the highest percentage of chick starter you can get and add a little cat food to it. Or catfish food or
Yep. Okay, Kyle says, any hidden challenges to raising quail that you would like to share?
hidden challenges. Just the learning. You have to learn from your mistakes. There isn't any, quote, real challenging. Do your research before you get quail. Like I did, watch a lot of the YouTube channels. Read, search on the internet. It's always better to have too much information than not have enough.
Yep, I agree. Okay. Satang. Okay. I was always wondering how you said that. Thank you very much. Let's see. Patty says, with keeping them inside, how do you deal with the noise of the roosters?
They're not too bad if you don't have a lot of them.
Right.
The thing is, I end up laughing most of the time because I hear them saying, spoiled brat, perfect brat, come here, pick me. And sometimes, since I have to go to the bathroom, which is on the other side of the quail room,
Right.
I'll sit in there and argue with them.
Okay, Tyler Shepard says, Verna, I may have missed it, but what do you use for a brooder?
I don't know if you can see it right behind me over here.
Let me
Right there.
Oh, okay. What, a plastic tub?
It's a plastic tote with,
Yep.
I've got about that much of the top cut off. Whoops. Got about that much, that much of the top cut off all the way across the inside of the tote
Right.
lid and have 1/4 inch hardware cloth on top and wired it together.
Yep. Okay.
I think I got that idea from you, Terry.
This is that's basically what I do when I start out with my day-old chicks. They go into a plastic tub, and usually on day 3 or 4, I move them into my big brooder. This is cool. Erie Quail Farm says, Verna's the star of the chat rooms for both Katernick'S Corner and my Shire. Can we make her a moderator for both already? There you go.
Thanks a bunch, Shire.
Yep. How long can eggs stay outside the fridge before they go bad, and how long in a fridge? Do you refrigerate your eggs?
I refrigerate most of my eggs except for the ones that I'm going to hatch.
Okay.
That's why when I sell them as eating only, because once you put them in the fridge, the fertility goes down way fast.
Okay. What about for eating eggs?
Well, that's why I said I put them in the fridge.
Okay.
I've had them for over a month and still be good.
Yep.
You can always do the float test if you're in doubt.
Yep. I agree with you. Tanya says, Terry, my button coil are currently outside, and we've had temps down to 37 degrees so far, but most recommendations are 50 degrees and above. All right. Thanks, Tanya. Appreciate that. How long after hatching can chicks survive in an incubator before dying while waiting for the others to hatch?
No more than 72 hours.
Yeah, I don't even
Some
go that
people let them
long.
go 72 hours.
Yeah.
I usually wait a day, day and a half, no more than 2 days.
Yeah,
Because
I open mine up a little
I
bit
would
more
do
than
the
that. When my chicks hatch, once they're dry, I open the door real quick and grab them out of there, and then when the next ones hatch, as soon as they're dry, I pull them out.
the thing is, if you're using a commercial, one that you buy at the store, incubators, spray water in there as you go to reach for the other chicks.
Yep.
So that way the humidity doesn't drop.
Yeah. Well, for me, humidity is not an issue. Down in South Florida, our humidity so high, it's unbelievable. Okay.
But mostly in the
we're getting
wintertime
done.
up here, it is a problem.
Okay. Yeah. William says Fiona says it's storming really bad there, so that is probably the issue why we lost Fiona. And like I said, guys, I am going to bring her back on a future live stream, so we can get those questions for her. Mackenzie Red says, how many pounds of food do you go through in a month, plus how many birds?
Oh, I buy by 50-pound bags.
Mm-hmm.
I buy 200 pounds of it, no matter how many birds I have, and that will last me 4 to 6 months.
Wow. I'm trying to figure out what I go through. About 100. I usually go through about 100 to 150 pounds a week, depending on how many birds I've got. But on average, 100 pounds a week, so 400 a month.
Yeah, you have a heck of a lot more birds than I do.
Oh yeah. Okay, Anita says, I want to start, I think, with one small clutch of quail. How much in pounds of feed would I need for the winter, say for a half a dozen birds?
For half a dozen birds, I'd probably get 100 pounds of it.
Get her
Just
through the
better
winter.
be safe than sorry.
Right. MC Sykes says, what type of cat food do you use to mix with the crumbles?
I use 9 Lives High Protein.
Okay. Here's a good question for you, Verna. What do you do with your quail's waste?
Well, I take it out. I found where the landlord had been making little compost piles by the branches now that are cut off. So I just picked me an area around there and just started dumping my quail waste there so I could have compost pile.
Okay, great. Heather
That was fun.
Heather says, when you harvest, do you skin or pluck, and which do you prefer?
I haven't tried skinning. I haven't tried plucking yet. I've been doing it the spatcock way.
Okay.
And the last time I harvested a bunch of them, what I did is I cut the legs off and put those in one bag and put the breasts in another bag. And I ended up having the legs the night that I got them ready for the freezer.
Okay.
And you talk about hot wings, quail legs are perfect for that.
Okay, Erie Quail Farm says, how often are you hatching eggs, and how many do you typically hatch at a time?
Well, right now I got 60 in the incubator.
Okay.
Usually before I got my quail rails, I could only do, what was that, 36 eggs? But now I got a quail rail, so I can do more.
All right. Let's see here.
I'm thinking about buying
floating peppers.
another vanilla ranch cage.
Oh yeah. Okay, another question from Erie Quail Farm. Do you need a state license to sell eggs and birds in Ohio? And Terry, have you been able to get any response from the state of Florida during COVID? Go ahead and answer that part.
No, I don't think so. You got that farmer where you can buy from the farm without a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's no problem that I know of.
As far as getting a response from the state of Florida, I don't know what you're talking about. Is it for like my NPIP testing? If that's what you're talking about, I have a direct number to my inspector, and I can call them and just let them know when I want them to come out. As far as permits go, The only permit we're required to have is if you have over 50 quail. You do have to have a state, it's a permit you get from Fish and Game, real easy to get, and you can do that right online, so that's no big deal. Okay.
Yeah,
Stuart says,
Oh,
best advice for someone wanting to get started with selling eggs and chicks.
the best advice first, I'd say try it yourself. Try the eggs yourself before you sell them. Because if you've never tasted it, how can you answer the questions?
Gotcha.
Another thing is persistence. I mean, don't get discouraged. I know Facebook is being a pain in the butt right now, but that comes and goes. But there's always Craigslist and Etsy and stuff like that.
Sure. And word of mouth.
Word of mouth is my best one.
Exactly. Verna, have you, Verna, you ever try Kalmbach feeds? You should be able to get it where you're from.
I've never heard of it, and I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I mean, heck, I
what-
can't even get turkey starter in Franklin
Right,
area.
gotcha. What advice would you give beginning quail keepers, Verna, about raising quail?
Well, the advice I'd give to you is to first, before you even get any eggs or anything, decide on how much you want, how big of a cage you're going to build, where you're going to put them. Make sure you have your watering system and feeding system ready for when you get them. Because the worst thing is to be unprepared for anything that comes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a brooder box, you can only keep in the brooder no more than 3 weeks. And don't wait until the last minute to do everything.
Yeah, I hear you. All right,
Do
we
research,
are
do anything.
running late. It's already 8:21. So, guys, if I didn't get to your question, I apologize. But I do want to get the winners announced, and I do have just a couple of announcements before we go. The winner of the 30 hatching eggs from William Carl Foster is Heather Cole. Heather, if you can send me your shipping information, email it to me at terry@Katernick'scorner.com or message me on Facebook. I will forward that to William and he will get your eggs right out. And Erie Quail Farm, you got the coffee cup. So if you could do the same thing, send me your shipping information. I will get a Katernick'S Corner Live coffee cup out to you. And let's see. I want to thank Verna and Fiona for joining us tonight. I apologize for the issue we had with Fiona. I guess she's having some pretty rough weather up there. We will get her back on the show. I'll try to schedule her for sometime next month. Join us next week. We have Kai Pepner from Germany. He will be joining us. He's got quite the operation over there. So he's going to be joining us and talking about his quail setup. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I want to invite you back next week. And yeah, thanks again, Verna. And everyone have a great night. And we will see you next week, Tuesday.